work in the realm of the molecular aspects of head and neck cancer, as well as breast cancer. But today I'm going to talk to you about our work in head and neck cancer. And this is really a very important focus for us because we know that this is the sixth most common cancer worldwide. We are going to see over 400,000 cases globally. About 2/3 of this is in developing countries, with highest rates in South Asian countries, including India and Sri Lanka. And of course, there is a great urgency to do something about this because the 5-year survival has not changed significantly for head and neck cancer. The complete response rate is only 50%. There's long-term rehabilitation. It's a disfiguring disease. It has high mortality rate, and it has disparate, unfavorable diagnosis and prognosis outcomes for, especially for African Americans. And where I work in Detroit, we have a large multiracial population. So this gives us an opportunity to look at racial disparities in head and neck cancer. Now, the mission of our department is to eliminate cancer in Michigan. The nation and the world through programs that integrate patient care, research, and prevention, and through education of medical students, trainees, professionals, and the public. So from that perspective, on the research front, my funding and my laboratory, which is a cancer genetics program, started out with head and neck cancers from its very inception at the cytogenetic level. And you can imagine how difficult that was to look at cytogenetic abnormalities because almost every chromosome is abnormal in a tumor from a squamous head and neck cancer. And this, and you can see this here, where you very rarely find a normal chromosome because it's so disrupted. Then you also have what's called fluorescence in situ hybridization, which has also built on the cytogenetics. And from there, we went on to single genes, where we carefully looked at one gene at a time. And then we started to say, hey, let's look at 10 genes or 12 genes. Until now, we're doing what's called these discovery approaches, using comprehensive high-throughput platforms. So we have gone from the time of looking in the dark, one gene at a time, to looking at many genes, thank goodness for all the light that has been shed as a result of the Human Genome Project. So what has that given us in terms of advancement? We have genome-wide analysis using next-generation sequencing, and you've heard a lot about that today, where we get vast amounts of data. But deciphering this information, I think, is really what is the most important aspect, of these huge discovery strategies. And then again, this slide shows you what has been sort of collated, has been put together from next-generation sequencing. And this slide is important only because you can see that certain cancers have a large number of mutations. And as we just heard from the previous speaker, that when you look at pediatric cancers, you really have very few mutations. And that's because you don't have enough time to build these changes that you acquire through an entire lifetime. And that also gives you some clues to what might be important, because you don't have all that background noise, that we had to filter through when you have adult tumors. So our focus has been, what is important? What rises to the top? How do you separate the wheat from the chaff? Right? So, you want to predict something that's meaningful. You want to predict something that's essential. So it's this constant weighing in of what is important and setting up criteria for how you can determine this. So why talk about driver mutations and why talk about passenger mutations or changes? Right? So mutations that confer a selective growth advantage to the tumor cell are called driver mutations. I mean, they really take charge. right? Then, pathogen mutations are the ones that you don't usually see very many of in these pediatric tumors because they haven't had time to build that noise. They just go along for the ride. But how do you separate that? So driver genes suspected of increasing selective growth advantage of tumor cells may be grouped as mute driver genes or epi-driver genes. Now, when I talk about mute driver genes, I'm talking about changes that occur in the DNA sequence. So these become non-synonymous mutations. And of course, you have amplification. In some cases, you have insertions. In some cases, you have what's called deletions. So if you actually look at all the mute driver genes from all this next generation sequencing, from all these different tumors that have been characterized molecularly, you can whittle it down to 138 driver mutations. I mean, just imagine 138 driver mutations, and all of these then become encased into not more than 12 pathways. And you can see here, so under the umbrella of cell survival, of cell fate, and of maintenance, you have 12 basic important pathways. So it's this filtering down to what is essential. All right, so now, I really think that the focus has been on mutations, on the DNA sequence, all right? And that has driven what we have seen in terms of what are called basket trials. This has been a very important paradigm shift in our thinking. Because when you think about basket trials, those are trials where we don't care about what type of tumor you have. You could have a prostate tumor, you could have a breast tumor, you could have a melanoma. What we care about is what mutation do you have, all right? And so that is the essence of these basket trials. So today, the NCI, has what's called this molecular analysis for therapy choice trials, right? So we have about 200 actionable mutations, amplifications, translocations, that are assessed in pre-treated solid tumors and in lymphomas. And then patients become matched to investigational drugs, and there are approximately 25 of these targeted drugs, all right? So, but again, like I said, the emphasis, the focus has been on mutations. Where is DNA methylation? Where is epigenetics? Why isn't that becoming also a component of when we assess what is important? So that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, hey, you're missing an important segment of information. Pay attention to epigenetics. So we have been focusing on what's called DNA methylation. Now, I know this is, everyone knows this, but just, to go over this very briefly, when something is hypermethylated, you add, it's because you add this methyl group, where you then most likely have decreased gene expression. And when something is hypomethylated, you usually increase gene expression, right? So our focus is, let's figure out how we can come up with epi-driver genes, right? All this, so these genes are expressed in tumors, but not frequently mutated. All right, they are altered to changes in DNA methylation or chromatin modification that persist as the tumor cell divides. Now, when you think about epigenetics, it's not just about DNA methylation. It's also about the configuration of the chromatin. You have to think about chromosomal condensation and how important it is to have chromatin in the right state so that the transcription factors and all the essential ingredients that come together allow all this transcription to take place, right? So the criteria for distinguishing epigenetic changes that exert a selective growth advantage or drivers or actionable mutations or clinically therapeutic targets, so we have to distinguish those from those that are just passengers. And that really has not been emphasized, when it comes to epigenetics. So we have been doing this in head and neck cancer. Now, just very briefly, I just want to say that we have been focusing on head and neck cancer from the HPV standpoint. That is the human papillomavirus, right? We know now, I mean, take a look at cervical cancer. We have known that HPV is an etiological agent for cervical cancer. But only in the last 8 years or 7 years, we have realized that HPV is the causative agent of oropharyngeal cancer, right? And that was huge, right? So, so why is that important? All right? I mean, here you have cancer, you have HPV, it's an agent, it's causing cancer. But what we've also found is that when you have head and neck cancer, when you have head and neck oropharyngeal cancer, and you are HPV positive, the chances are is that you'll have a better prognosis, right? So you have better patient outcome. So there are characteristics of HPV positive tumors and HPV negative tumors as far as head and neck cancer goes. So they have non-keratinizing histology, they have overexpression of B16. So currently, HPV is the most valid and robust molecular diagnostic and prognostic biomarker to date for head and neck cancer. And so you have this improved survival advantage. It is thought to be due to better response to chemoradiation. But what that mechanistically, is going on there, that we also trying to get our arms around. Right? But as a result of all this information, all right, we have now realized that if HPV positive patients do better with chemoradiation, then perhaps we can treat them with less intensive treatments. And so we have now what's called de-intensifying strategies. Okay, so this is what our focus has been, to see what is different between HPV positive and HPV negative tumors, so that we can find out clues to signaling networks, and to come up with how to pinpoint what might be important. Right? So we have been using what's called the 450K chip. Now this is a platform by Illumina that looks at about 500,000 CpGs. Now I know it's a drop in the bucket, because if you look at the human genome, it has 28 million CpGs. And so how far, but 500,000 is not so bad. So this is, I'm sure you are familiar with this panel. It's pretty, conventional now. It used to be something, new and novel, maybe 3 or 5 years ago, but not anymore. So we went to a study by Lechner et al. In 2013, and Lechner et al. Had this appreciable size cohort where you looked at differences between HPV positive and HPV negative. And then he also targeted 11 genes, from this cohort of his that really stood out. And for us, it was meaningful, because not only did he show that these genes were significantly different from HPV negative, but they also were correlated with gene expression status. And that's really important, because when something is hypermethylated, you want to show that it also has lower expression. And then that sort of ties it in, right? So our purpose was to replicate these findings in our cohort. But to get something, so you have to have benchmarks, right? You have to have a certain bar, right? So when you're looking for something that's essential, you have to look at certain criteria. So you want to find the same thing in an independent cohort, in an independent laboratory. Then you also want to take those findings and then do it in another independent cohort. And so that's what we were trying to do. So we did this. So we looked for these 11 genes using the same Infinium 450K platform, and we used 4 HPV positive and 4 HPV negative. And we found that 7 of Lechner et al.'s 11 genes, were also significantly different. Not only were they significantly different between HPV positive and HPV negative in our cohort, but the methylation direction was also identical. And you can see that, this is what it looks like for these 7 genes. The starred one shows the significance, the significant genes. Then, so then we said, okay, now what do these 7 or these 11 genes mean in terms of what they do biologically? So we know something is standing out, but how is it entwined biologically? So we put them in what's called IPA, which is ingenuity pathway analysis, that allows you to see how genes look in context of their partners. Now this is really important, because when you focus on one gene and you think it's a clinically significant therapeutic target, and you want to target it, then you say, wait, it's interacting with this gene and that gene, in this pathway. So it gives you additional clues. And if your targeting for your main gene doesn't work, hey, let's try the gene downstream or upstream. So that's why pathways are really important, because it really ties in the biological significance of what's going on. And so what we found is that our genes were in this one network, this large network, and our genes are these red genes here. But I want to point out to this one gene here. This is the MSX2 gene, and you can see it's in the middle, almost like, trying to control all of these genes. And we know that locally dense interactions between genes tend to reflect significant biology, throwing the spotlight into this gene. And so now we have some place to go, with filtering down from 11 to 7. Then we decided, and these are all important because, they do highlight very important biological functions. Top canonical pathways. What's the meaning of canonical? Fundamental. Absolutely essential. Key. So many of our genes, landed in these top canonical pathways, right? Then we decided, let's do another independent sample, all right, and see what happens to these genes, so that we could filter them down even more, So we had a total of N18, and again, we did targeted sequencing. It's next generation targeted sequencing, and what we were able to confirm 4 of these 11 genes that had kept standing out. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that the placement of these 9 genes, of these 11 genes, in highly ranked pathways and bionetworks reveals key biological processes to further emphasize differences between HPV positive and HPV negative. So the targeted sequencing confirmed the hypermethylation or the hypomethylation, the direction of methylation, and so now it has thrown the spotlight into these 4 genes, PDC, HB11, C14, MEI1, and MSX2, as being probably important in HPV positive cancers as compared to HPV negative cancers. And so I just want to sort of tie this in with saying that, we are all on this bandwagon of precision medicine. And it's all, right now we're only looking at gene mutations or, the DNA alphabet. We need to think about epigenetics, because I think that's going to be really key, if you want to get to the future paradigm of the 4 M's, which is, which is predictive as well as participatory medicine to get to what's called individualized medicine. Thank you. That's okay.
Thanks, Dr. Worsham, for sticking the time.
I just forgot my group, but that's okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, go ahead.
I totally agree with you. I think epigenetics is as important, particularly during advanced stages of tumor progression. Suppose if you identify that epigenetically some genes are deregulated and they're contributing to the tumorigenesis. So how do you really silence them or induce them? I mean, it's going to both ways, right? Some genes will be silenced and some will be activated. So how do you really handle that?
Yeah, and I think that is one of the roadblocks as to why epigenetics, is not gaining ground the way that gene mutations have. And that's because, you know that a gene is hypermethylated or it's hypomethylated. We know there are drugs, that can demethylate a gene and thereby, cause, that gene to express itself. We know that there are drugs that can hypomethylate a gene and lower the expression of a hypomethylated gene that is causing overexpression. expression. But, but we don't know how to target precisely that gene.
Right.
So within the context, of the tumor, you may have these 11 genes, all right? But how do you direct, a demethylating drug or a methylated drug, a hypermethylated drug, to target just that one gene? And so we have a lot of drugs, demethylating drugs, in clinical trials. We have some in phase 1 and phase 2. But I think, we just haven't, crossed the threshold where we can, well, see, now I want to say this, that when it comes to certain lymphomas, and multiple myelomas, they are using demethylating drugs. But it's blind, They're not looking to see what the gene profiles are and what these demethylating drugs are doing. That's something that I think we really need to do to gain more insight into how to be, more directed. So we're struggling with that right now. Yes?
What we find, in our transcription, especially HAD inhibitors, for finding the new targets from the therapeutic point of view, from the anti-cancerous point of view. In the same way, methylation process, can we apply those things to find any drug targets, especially structural targets in the drug discovery? Can you apply these things?
Okay, so I can just talk from my own experience. So you see how we have come through, this process where we decided, okay, here's an important paper by Lechner et al. This seems like it's important. Let's see if we can even get one gene that that we can pull out, right? So this is what we did. So we did it in one independent cohort in an independent laboratory, but then that's our laboratory. So we decided to do this in another independent cohort from our laboratory. So now we have zeroed, on these 4 genes. So, we are a primary care facility in Newport Health System, right? So we see patients when they come in for whatever is wrong at the very beginning, right? We also have a very large African American population as well, which is a very, very important resource, right? And I don't know if you're aware that HPV is a big thing in the United States because the prevalence of HPV in Caucasian Americans is much higher than it is in African Americans. And one of the things that we have learned is that because there is a higher prevalence of HPV in white Americans, their survival is better because they're HPV positive. But we showed in our clinical cancer research study where even in African Americans, if you have a sizable cohort of African Americans, if they are HPV positive, they do better than those African Americans with head and neck cancer that are HPV negative. So HPV is playing a very important role in prognosis. And we have to get our arms around this mechanistically, right? So with respect to your question, so now we are taking so we have built large cohorts. We have a cohort of about 1,300 head and neck cancer patients, right? And we have cell lines, we have fresh tissue, we have blood, we have saliva, So now we are building these tissue arrays to look at these genes, to see, in the actual tumor itself, whether we can even whittle down these 4 genes to maybe 1 gene, and then work, perhaps with an SBIR mechanism with a company to see how we can take this into the drug pipeline.